so that was good to
Right.
hear.
I'm so glad. Oh, wow. I want to start off the debt limit. I'm sure you've been seeing this in the news. A couple weeks ago, April 27th, Speaker McCarthy was able to pass his debt limit bill. It was called the Limit Save Grow Act by a very wafer thin majority of 217 to 215, with all Democrats voting against it. So this increases the debt limit by 1.5 trillion or through March, whichever comes first, alongside $4.8 trillion in deficit reduction, so spending cuts. They proposed cutting a number of programs in Inflation Reduction Act. Right after the vote happened, the Senate Democrats said they will oppose it, and the president's office said he will veto it. However, earlier this week, Secretary Yellen sent a letter to Congress, which everyone was very surprised by, that we're going to hit our debt ceiling as early as June 1st. So right after that happened, the president has called a meeting with what he calls the four corners. So that's Schumer, McConnell in the Senate, and McCarthy and Pelosi in the House on May 9th. So we're going to see what happens at that meeting. The House and Senate are only in at the same time for 2 weeks this month. So it's a very short window. I think it's really going to see we're going to see what happens with the markets. I think that's going to push Congress to act maybe sooner than they wanted to. I'm thinking, I don't know, as anyone's bet now, there'll be a short-term debt limit extension. I don't think there's enough time in 2 or 3 weeks to negotiate spending decreases. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on what happens with that. So the House Appropriations Committee this week, though, officially announced its timeline for marking out the appropriation bills. They're going to start on May 15th and want to wrap up by June 15th. So as soon as the Appropriation Committee passes the House Interior Appropriations Bill, where the Rural Water Earmark is, and the House Transportation HUD Appropriations Bill, where our 2 other projects are, I will give you an update. It'll become public and we'll know if our earmarks are included. Next week, the House Armed Services Committee is going to start considering the National Defense Authorization Act, just an FYI, because they would closely follow that for Buckley. Also earlier this week, the White House announced Neera Tanden. She was a nominee to run the OMB, the Office Management and Budget. The Senate, she could not get through the Senate. So she's going to replace Susan Rice as domestic policy advisor, and Susan's going to go over and head to the campaign. For grants roundup, yesterday HUD allocated $382 million for various housing programs that the city receives. So the city's going to get $2.6 million in CDBG, $1.24 million in home, and around $231,000 in the Homeless Emergency Solution grants. So Liz has that and shared it with the housing department. There are a few other grant opportunities out from both the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill. Protect came out a couple weeks ago, and this is a program that was created to help with extreme weather events and to help with climate issues, including sea level rise, but also hurricanes, wildfires, storms, snowstorms. So it's a competitive grant program. It's a brand new program, and I've sent it on to the city. Another program is electric vehicles, EV charging competitive grant program. This is also a new one that was created in the infrastructure bill. And then lastly, urban community forestry. This is an existing program, but the Inflation Reduction Act IRA gave a ton of money for it. So this is a program that cities can use for tree canopy and to help with trees in parks and also in forests as well. And then lastly, because I know the city is looking at the RAISE grant. DOT is going to announce awards end of June, and then they're going to do another NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity, in September. They're also going to announce a NOFO for reconnecting communities. As a reminder, that is a program that when we met with DOT a couple of months ago, they raised this as an issue, as a particular program to fit near projects where you're increasing access between an underserved neighborhood to more healthcare and transportation and jobs. So that will be coming out soon as well. Any questions?
Is there any questions, committee, to Lori? Okay. Just a question to you, Liz. Does our departments know about all of these grants?
Yes, all the information has been passed on to our grants team and subsequent relevant departments for review.
Okay. Okay. Okay, what about the bill that you were telling me about yesterday in our meeting? The federal bill?
Senate Bill 870?
Yes.
Yes, I do have that in the legislative positions section of the.
Of the whole thing? Okay, you don't want to talk about it now since we're on federal?
We can talk about it now if you would like,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, how about we do that since we're on the federal stuff?
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so this is our first federal legislation, so I'm bringing forward to you this year. It is Senate Bill 870, Fire Grants and Safety Act. The bill reauthorizes through fiscal year 2030 the U.S. Fire Administration Assistance Firefighters Grant Program and Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response Grant Program, so AFG and the SAFER Grant Program. The bill has already passed the Senate and is currently in the House, and I am pleased to say that both of our senators did support the bill. And I have a position recommendation from staff as actively support. It does utilize these funds, and we have Chief on here to discuss and answer questions about why the bill is important to the city and to support that rationale.
Okay, well, Chief, welcome to the Pfizer Committee. Do you have anything that you would like to add? And
Just simply that this has been really good to the city over the last 7 years. We've got almost $4.4 million out of the AFG and SAFER grants. And, with the rising costs of manufacturing, particularly around fire trucks and the like, it really is helping localities continue to purchase and keep their rolling stock updated. As well as supplemental staffing around emerging risks or training around emerging risks. And so we've taken advantage of it over the last 7 years and would like to continue the same. It really is a high priority. I think public safety has been on the top of the list for every meeting that I go to and hear about it. And I think this just supports that. So we would definitely love to be able to actively support it.
okay, well, thank you, Chief Otten, for that summary. Councilmember Zvonek, Councilmember Jurinsky, do you have any questions for Lori, Chief Otten, or Liz? And do you support this?
No questions, and yes, support.
I support as well. Okay, Chief Otten, thank you so much. If you want to stay for the rest of this, you can, but thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a good week. Thank you, Lori.
Have a good week.
You too. Okay, let's go to our state legislative update. Peggy, Cammie, give us the good news.
Yeah, well, I'll log off now then. I guess the good news is we have 4 more days left of the session. As you noted, the councilwoman will be working through the weekend. There's a lot of big ticket items still out there, over 150 bills still in the process that they'll need to take final action on in the next 4 days. Couple bills of note that we've been watching very closely. House Bill 1249, this is the bill that raises the age for prosecution of juveniles in the criminal justice system from 10 to 13. The bill was on second reading on the Senate floor yesterday for hours and hours. The Republicans discussed the bill at length. Finally, the Democrats threw their hands up and laid the bill over until today. It is back on the special orders calendar for today. I think the Republicans, unless they get some satisfaction on some of these big items like 1249, they will continue to filibuster in the next 4 days. So this is a big bill that Republicans are putting a lot of pressure on the Democrats to kill. Another bill that we're very closely watching is the detention bill 1307. We talked about this before session even began. This bill puts in 3.8 million to increase juvenile beds by 22. So it adds in 22 temporary emergency beds. Although that is a smaller number than we would have liked, I do think one of the positives that has come out of it is raising this discussion. I think we'll have the ability to come back and have a longer conversation about it with legislators next year, but did get some, although small, temporary relief. And then Senate Bill 213, which is the governor's land use bill. This has been an emotional nightmare. The bill gets got dramatically amended in the Senate. Not a great bill, but definitely much improved. And then when it went over to the House, the progressives in the House added a lot of amendments, and they continue every step of the way, whether it's the committee of reference, the appropriations committee, or last night on the House floor, they add more and more amendments. So currently the House is reading the bill at length. That'll probably go till about 3 o'clock, and then they'll continue the debate on it. But a lot of frustration amongst the Republicans and the Senate. When the bill passes the House, which it will go back to the Senate. We are counting votes in the Senate to adhere to the Senate position, which again was a much better bill, although not perfect. So it will either probably go to conference committee, or we're counting to make sure we have enough votes to adhere to the Senate position so that the House position is not adopted in the Senate. So that's where that bill is.
Can I just say something on that? This
Please.
bill is so complicated. I mean, nobody even knows what's going on. There's been 23 amendments in 2 days, 80 since the bill was introduced. I don't even know, I was listening to it, I don't even know if the sponsors are even knowing what's going on, because they even had something in there about inclusionary housing, and that wasn't even part of the bill from the get-go. Like, they had mentioned something like that. I mean, it's so complicated. I don't even know how to even explain it to anybody, because it's really confusing now with just the 23 amendments that they have right now in the past 2 days.
You're exactly right. And I
Comment
think
that I
that is a
made.
huge, oh, I'm sorry.
But that was just a comment that I made. I just watched a little bit of it yesterday, and I really don't know what's in, what's out. I mean, what's even happening with this, especially with these bills. And it's like I said, it's been 80 since the bill has been introduced with amendments and all of that. It's just a complicated situation. It's a mess to me. Just my own comment on that. You could continue, sorry. Just wanted to say something about it.
Muted.
So those are the 3 bills that I had to give updates on. Happy to answer any questions, or pass it on to the next person.
Councilmember Zvonek, do you have any
Just
questions?
one, maybe not question, more as comment. I appreciate the work you guys did on the juvenile detention beds. I know that we wanted to see no cap. An increase is better than nothing, but I do, obviously going into next session, since the awareness is up, I don't anticipate the problem getting better. I'd like us to, again, push for a no cap, but as a fallback maybe for next year, what we talked about last time, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, I can't remember now, is maybe a scenario where all of the beds are floating, because that would provide some relief for the areas that are seeing a higher need than others. I don't know if you were able to talk to anybody about that possibility and if it was just shut down, but that could be I wouldn't want to lead with that next year, but as a fallback to next year to a no cap.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I did, I was going to say float that by several people, but I did have that conversation with people, and it was not immediately shut down. So I think it's at least viable in terms of continuing the discussion. And, even if we can't make all of them floating, maybe we could add another greater chunk that's floating. But yeah, I definitely still think that's worth having continued conversations on this summer.
Councilmember Jurinsky, do you have anything? Okay, thank you so much, Peggy. Cami and Tatsi, do you have anything to add for any other bills that you're watching?
I do. I've been watching Senate Bill 105, which is the Ensure Equal Pay for Equal Work bill. That received its final legislative approval on Thursday when the Senate concurred with a small amendment that was added by the House. That amendment exempted out-of-state companies with fewer than 15 employees working remotely in Colorado, only making those companies provide notice of remote job opportunities. Now it remains to be seen if the governor will sign it into law, just because the CDLE has expressed concerns over it. The other bill that I was watching was the Power Act, which is Senate Bill 172, which seeks to lower a threshold for workplace harassment. Passed both chambers and it will make its way to the governor's desk.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Cami? Okay. Hi, Tatsi. Anything from you?
Yes, good afternoon. I just want to say thank you to all of you for all of your hard work and help, support, encouragement during this session. I think it can speak for all three of us that it was much appreciated. Everyone, all of the Pfizer members, Roberto, Liz, especially taking our calls and our texts at any time, day or night. I'd like to thank you, Council Member Lawson, Jurinsky, I'm sorry, Councilman
Okay.
Dustin, I can't say it. I've never been able to say it, I just can't say it. So thank you for all of your help, Judge Day, Chief Acevedo, everybody. Thanks, and carry on.
Okay, thank you, Tatsi. I appreciate that. We appreciate all the work you guys are doing because it's been a very interesting session. So for sure. So we appreciate all your work as well. Okay, Liz, do you have some things? We need to go over some positions and take some positions.
So I have two bills for y'all today, but just wanted to circle back quickly to the land use update. In the packet, I did include what at the time was the most recent version of the House amendments. So you can see them there. We are still in the opposed position for this bill, and that has not changed, and nor am I recommending any changes at this time. But happy to go through those. However, as was mentioned, we are going to be seeing a lot more changes in the next few days. So not sure if you want me to do that, happy to do so, but I will do that at your discretion.
What do you mean, like?
Just go through the
Oh,
amendments.
no, I mean, Councilmember Zvonek, Councilmember Jurinsky, do you want her to go through some of these, or do you have questions on what she has in the packet? Okay, they're like, though. I'm good too. I think I'm kind of familiar.
We're all bad.
I think I'm kind of familiar with it anyway, because it's kind of the same thing, so basically, because it's back to the same thing, so.
Okay, great. So then I will move forward with the bill position. So I have two bills for you today. Both are actively support recommendations. So the first one is House Bill 23-1304, Proposition 123, Affordable Housing Programs. So the bill provides guidelines for implementation of the program and codifies the ballot measure into law. The city is recommending actively support as the city is committed to opting into the program and increasing their affordable housing supply.
Okay, Councilmember Zvonek, Councilmember Jurinsky, do you have any questions or comments, or do you support the city's position?
No, and yes.
Okay, Councilmember Jurinsky, okay, same as for me as well.
Wonderful. The next bill I have is House Bill 23-1307, Enhanced Supports for Youth that are in detention. So the bill that Peggy had referenced regarding juvenile beds. Happy to go through the summary of that again. The staff recommendation is actively support, as we did pass the resolution, and that has been something the city has been actively tracking.
Councilmember Zvonek, I know you made a comment on this, but do you have any other comments based on this summary, and do you support this?
Yeah.
Councilmember Jurinsky, I support it as well.
Those are all the bill positions I have for you today.
May I interrupt and add just one thing? Both those bills passed the Senate yesterday on third reading, so they're through the process.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Liz. It looks like, do we have anybody here for the, oh, I see Kathy. Kathy, the water update.
No, good afternoon. I've just got one informational item for you today. And so 2 weeks ago at the last FSIR meeting, we brought Senate Bill 23-295 for an actively opposed position, and that is on the Colorado River Drought Task Force. Marshall Brown was able to testify at both the Senate and the House hearings. The bill was heavily amended in the Senate to the point that we were able to testify in a neutral position at the House hearing. Initially, the Colorado River Task Force had 12 appointed seats with designated seats for the West Slope stakeholders, but none for the East Slope stakeholders. I'm happy to say the bill was revised to add 3 East Slope seats, with one specifically for a Front Range municipal water provider. It is possible that Aurora Water will be appointed to that seat, but it is unknown at this time. And regardless, we will be participating at the public stakeholder as a public stakeholder to listen and provide comments during the task force process for Colorado River drought resiliency and interstate commitment solutions. And just want to thank FSIR for supporting us in our opposed position.
Thank you for that. And is there any questions for Kathy on that? Okay, Thank you. Is there anything else that we need to?
Reminder of the water tour in August, so hope you'll all join us.
What is that again?
August 15th and 16th.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate it and appreciate all your work this legislative session. I know we still have like, how many days? 5, 4 days to go. So, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, miscellaneous matters for consideration from the committee.
I have just one, and it's, I know one of the bills that's making its way through right now, it's gonna pass. And it's gonna lead to a referred measure this fall, dealing with property taxes. I know that we're gonna go to it every other week, which is, or monthly now. I just wanna make sure that we, take a hard look at that. My inclination is that it's, one, I think it's not a good solution, and there's, I understand the need to address, property tax increases. They're gonna come as a result of the elimination of the Gallagher Amendment. That being said, I don't know that this is the right solution for a number of reasons, but I want to make sure that we as a city determine if we're going to take a position on that this fall. And then the other thing is that we had talked about the AQC rule, and it actually got pushed back. They're going to hear it later. And so I want to, again, revisit whether or not we take a position, because I do believe it would have, while it won't negatively impact the city, because governments were exempted from these rules, which should tell you that it's not a good idea for businesses. If governments are like, hey, it's going to cost too much, then why are we making business do it? So I want to make sure that if there's a way for us to be involved in that this fall, that we are.
And George, I have a question for you. Because there are some things that we, like Councilmember Zvonek brought up about positions that we take, we're gonna go on a monthly, because we're gonna discuss that really quickly. So I don't know if we're gonna be having meetings in person. We might just stay with the virtual for the summer. So if we do take that position, I mean, we'd usually come here and we do a formal, but we could still do formal,
Yeah, you can do it.
still do it from whatever. Okay, just wanna
From
make
that,
sure.
or you could set another meeting
Okay,
if you wanted
Okay.
to do it in person. So
Okay.
either way.
I probably, yeah, I just wanted to make sure on that process. Yes, Roberto.
And so just a reminder to Dustin's question, in the past, what we've done before our November elections, we've taken all the ballot initiatives and had a meeting with an agenda. We go through them and we give staff, just like we do these.
Yeah.
I'll just make one caveat is that council rules, I think, to take an official position require unanimous instead of majority for ballot initiatives, for statewide ballot initiatives. So you guys can go on your own and do, but in terms of, it has to be unanimous unless the council rules have changed. Then it has to be unanimous to take a city position. It's always.
You know why? It's weird, 'cause it's just a statute,
Yeah,
right?
it should be, it should be, but it's just one of those holdover, and we've never changed it. Folks have not wanted to remove the unanimous, but
Yeah.
if you wanted to do that, we could do that, but right now as it stands, the council rules
It's
require
unanimous.
unanimous for
I don't
statewide,
think, yeah, you're
for
right.
statewide ballot initiatives,
Okay.
whether they're statutory or constitutional
Right.
across the board,
That's true.
so.
We forgot that we didn't change that in the council rules.
But we'll bring them for positions as soon as they start coming out of the process, petition or whatever however they're getting certified, and we'll bring them probably in summer, fall when they get. Okay, but we'll keep track before then, especially on the property tax one.
Okay. And then lastly, Councilmember Jurinsky and Councilmember Zvonek, we're gonna go monthly. So I was maybe thinking, I would like to have them on Fridays, but maybe the 3rd or 4th Friday. I don't know. What would be your thoughts on that going forward?
What do we have right now? What is, I don't even know.
Today?
Is the what?
Second,
Fourth? So you want to go to the,
Oh, no, sorry, first and third.
The 1st and 3rd.
oh, just one of them. I don't care whichever one.
Okay, but what would kind of work? Because I know you guys have policy committees meetings as well.
Yeah, it does. And either one works.
Okay,
No preference, so.
okay. Well, can you just pick?
Well, so,
Yeah.
Let's see what
um,
Councilmember
it's
Jurinsky.
my preference in having a garage sale the first Friday in June. So if we could do June 16th, that would just be fabulous.
Okay, so
Do the third Friday.
So can we just say then, I just wanna kind of go with the thing, we can always change things, the third week of the month, yeah.
Third Friday of the month,
Yep.
starting on
I'm
June 16th.
clear.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll let you go to your garage sale.
I mean, you know how I did it last year.
Yeah, so we'll just start going.
You
through-
taking donations for the garage sale? I pull out the stuff.
Bring your stuff by. Bring your stuff by, absolutely.
Okay, and I just wanna thank Roberto, Liz, I know we're still over with the legislative session, but just because we're in person, thank you all for this, you know, being here and adapting, it's been a lot going on, but I appreciate you both, and you, Liz, George, Cynthia, you too as well, so thank you.
Have a good weekend.
All right, we're done. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye, you
Bye,
guys.
you
Thanks a
guys.
bunch. Take care.
Okay.